Hi everyone! Welcome to Ember Blake Writes. I'm Ember Blake and I make videos about writing and my journey towards becoming a published author. Today is finally the day. I'm making my AuthorTube Newbie Tag video. And I know what you're thinking. Ember, did you somehow get less blurry and way more attractive? Yes! I got a new camera! That's quite enough of that. I'm still very new to YouTube. I've only been having my channel for about 2.5, 3 weeks. So I'm still technically new, but we're gonna just go with it. Question 1, how did you find AuthorTube? I guess I first found AuthorTube when I was suddenly bombarded by Alexa Dunn videos. Totally a good thing, by the way. Her videos showed up in my feed and they were just amazing. Tons of great advice about how to get published, how to get noticed, and all of that good stuff. And then Kate Kavanaugh's Stephen King video exploded and came in my feed, and that's how I found her channel, and after that I was kind of hooked. Question 2, what genre do you write in? I have story ideas for actually several different genres. I find that the genre I gravitate most to tends to be fantasy. That's kind of the main genre I work in, but I've also done paranormal, sci-fi, and even just modern day. One of my first major stories that I did was actually a superhero story that lives in infamy in my family. We'll cover that in a different video. So I just tried saying this next question without looking at the question itself, and I failed, so I'm just gonna read it. Question 3, what is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? So I tend to write more adult themed books. That just tends to be the kind of stuff that I like to read. There's absolutely nothing with young adult fiction, and in fact some of the books that I'm considering writing down the line maybe would be considered more young adult. But I just tend to like the gritty, the romantic, the explicit, those kinds of things tend to be more my mamba jamba. When it comes to my preferred writing tense and my preferred point of view, I definitely prefer third person past tense, and I consider this to be kind of a non-answer. It kind of depends on the story, right? Like if you're writing a romance novel, it's actually quite common to have it be in first person present tense. It also depends on your characters. If your characters have a very strong voice, sometimes it can be very compelling to write in their perspective. Question 4, are you a plotter, planner, or plantser? Has the definition of a plantser actually been defined? Where's the line between plantsers and plotters, and where's the line between plantsers and pantsers? I really don't get it. I do actually have an idea for a video coming up showing you guys how I outline using the snowflake method, but I have noticed in the past that I cannot pants. And like I said, I'll go into this in another video later on, but my superhero story saw the main character in and out of the hospital 3 times in as many days because I did not plan. I think my main goal when I'm doing my outlining of my book is I need to fill the middle. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I almost always, when I have a concept for a novel, I know the beginning very well and I know the end very well, but I have no idea how to get there. So doing an outline really helps me bridge those gaps so that when I'm in the middle of the book and I have no idea what I'm doing, I know a few scenes ahead what is going to happen and I know what I'm doing in this scene. And that really helps a lot with getting around writer's block. Don't know if I answered the question, but you get the idea. Question 5. Are you self-published, published, or soon to be published? The answer is none. I guess the question is technically yet to be published. I'm that one. I haven't been published in any way, shape, or form yet. I'm gonna skip question 6 because it deals with publishers and literary agents, and I don't have one yet. You know, obviously it would be great if I was in one of the big 5 publishers, but honestly, any publishing would be great. It'd be really cool just to see my book and hold it in my hand. Question 7. What AuthorTube related content will you find on my channel? I've already released several videos up until this point, and really it's gonna mostly be stream of consciousness. Sometimes I will have something that's a little bit more planned, like this video, or like a video discussing one of my former works where I kind of want to make sure I review what I'm talking about before I actually like talk to you guys about it and make sure that I'm not just all over the place, as if that never happens. Mostly it's gonna be writing vlogs and just kind of my journey. That's kind of the whole tagline, right? Is it's all just documenting my journey and how I'm going about becoming a published author. I don't feel like I'm an expert, so I'm gonna try not to do any how-to videos unless I have extensive experience working with what I'm talking about, like the snowflake method. But other than that, it's mostly just gonna be vlogs. Maybe some sprints if we can get some people in and write with us. Question 8. When did you start writing? I have a very specific answer for this. It was very early on into my 6th grade year of school. That was when I met 2 of my best friends all the way through grade school and up until this point. Shout out Ashley and Alex. But we started writing together when we were in grade school. We all had similar authors that we were really into, so I think it started more of as like a book discussion, and then we were all so imaginative, we all came up with our own ideas and we would write independently but together. So we would write on our own, but then we would actually like come together and like review each other's works and bounce story ideas off of each other. It was really, really fun, and actually they were the ones that challenged me to NaNoWriMo. So they are a huge reason why I'm even in the spot that I'm at right now, and I'm so, so grateful to have them in my life. What was the first story I ever wrote? Whew. I was actually just thinking about this as I was thinking about doing this video. I honestly can't remember what it was about. I know that it was heavily influenced by Tamara Pierce because she was like my Mama Jamma favorite. I said that twice in this video. My favorite author. Tamara Pierce was my favorite author at the time. And she's still a great author. I love her stuff. Occasionally I'll go back. The Atlanta series is what really set me in motion. So I do remember that it was a fantasy novel of some kind. I think the main character's name was Kayla. There were definitely 2 guys vying for her affection, but that's about as much as I remember. I do remember that I had roughly 20 to 30 pages of manuscript and that I had written it in Comic Sans because I thought it was a cool font. Oh baby Ember. Question 10. What authors have inspired you to write the most? As I mentioned, Tamara Pierce was a huge influence for me when I was originally growing up. I loved the way she had such strong female characters and how they could get stuff done but still have a family and love interests and all that kind of stuff. Later on in life, I really enjoyed the work of Mercedes Lackey, who is kind of similar to Tamara Pierce except a little bit more adult, I would say. There's a little bit more adult themes to it. After that, I honestly didn't do a ton of reading, which is really a shame. Or at least the books I read were not... I don't know if they directly influenced my writing, if you will. Now, one of my favorite books of all time is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I got it. It was included in a And Then There Were None computer game that I played growing up, but the game actually came with a copy of the book. And so I played the game, but then I still went and I read the book, and I'm so, so glad I did, because I feel like part of that book is what got me so interested into like the macabre and the, you know, kind of like gruesome death, and the way that the book prophesies itself but then also wraps itself up was just, it's a masterwork. I just love that book. When it comes to authors I really enjoy reading today, the main authors that come to mind are people like Garth Nix and Orson Scott Card. Question 11. Do you schedule your writing sessions or do you just write when you have the time? To be honest, I don't know. I think I lean more towards writing when I have time. I think it depends on where I'm at in terms of like my writing goals. If I'm behind my goals, I will make an effort to actually schedule time to write and will try to write during that time. Usually the quality of work I have during that time is not great, but it will usually at least propel me a little bit forward in the plot and maybe even get me past some tricky bits. For the most part, I don't really schedule time to write unless I'm meeting up with someone to do like a write-in together or something like that. This next question is kind of long, so I'm going to paraphrase it. Question 12, how and where do you write? I usually use a computer. I very rarely type things or write things out by hand or by typewriter. At one point I did have a typewriter and it was awesome until I realized you can't delete. Not to mention you had to retype everything in order to get it to be a soft copy on your computer. And that ain't nobody got time for that. That's another reason why I don't really write by hand. Unless I'm like trapped somewhere and I only have a notepad and a pen or something. I mostly work at my desk here, or I do enjoy working at places like libraries or bookstores or places that are kind of quiet and meditative. I also mostly write using Scrivener, but I also occasionally use Microsoft Word, or even my Write Club has an online little tracker you can do. I might do some typing there if I'm in a virtual sprint and then copy it into Scrivener later, but I keep my books in Scrivener. Eventually, no matter where I write it, it ends up in Scrivener. Question 13, what am I most looking forward to now that I'm a part of AuthorTube? This is a pretty common answer, I think, but the community. Also, though, I did want to point out that part of what inspired me to join AuthorTube was Kate Kavanaugh's video on actually ironically making money on YouTube. That's not why I'm here, that's not what I'm doing at all, but during her video, she kind of, as a caveat to the fact that it's not really lucrative to be an author on YouTube, especially when you're just starting out. But what she talked about was how it was basically a virtual or a video diary of her process and her journey. And that really appealed to me. I'm not a person who usually journals. And this is something that I could use to kind of have a very hyper specific journal where I can look back and be like, oh my gosh, remember when I was working on this book and that was before it got published, or remember when I did this, that was before I self-published it, or oh, I remember how hard it was to revise that thing. So far it's actually been really fun. Sometimes it obviously is a bit of a struggle since I also have a full-time job and a lot of other activities going on, but I do really enjoy this community already and it's just such a pleasure to be here. So anyway, everybody, that's my AuthorTube Newbie Tag video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.